Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to our Basic Legal Concepts series. This is where we're going to go over some basic legal concepts that we think you should know. Again, this is not legal advice, but as attorneys, we're providing some general information about these concepts, things you might have heard flying around. So this one is about revocable living trusts. What is a revocable living trust? Well, have you ever wanted to pass all your property along to your family and friends without having to deal with the court system? That is what the revocable living trust is solving, and that's why it's so popular. So probate is a process in American legal systems and all Western legal systems where the court makes sure property goes to the people it needs to go to and makes sure that all the creditors, which are people that you owe money to, are satisfied. That's a very, very complicated process. And guess what? In America, it's just getting more complicated and more expensive. We just went through a probate process with one of our clients and it took almost a year. And it's just becoming more and more detail-oriented and more pedantic, and that's something you want to avoid. So a revocable living trust is where you move everything into a trust before you die, ideally. You don't have to, but you move everything into a trust before you die so that when you die, the trustee now controls all of your property. So the way you accomplish that is with something called a pour-over will. This is where you write a will. It says everything that I have is going to go into this trust. And then that trust is another document which says this is where all the property goes specifically. But the court doesn't have to look at the trust document. It just has to look at the will. So it provides a nice private process where you can move everything over into a revocable trust and have to avoid probate almost entirely. You just post the will and you move it over. And remember, a trust, it's a relationship. It's a legal relationship between parties. It's not an entity. It's not a business. It's not like putting something into an LLC. A trust is a legal relationship where you're saying, I trust this person to dispose of my property properly. That's what it is. So a revocable living trust is excellent. We always recommend them because what they provide is a lot of flexibility and they provide a lot cheaper and a lot better. Is this a rich person tool? Well, rich people use this tool, but it's also something that middle class people and people in general can use because it's honestly, at this point, it's probably less expensive to pay for it up front and put the trust in place and fund it than it is to go through probate on the back end. So honestly, we highly recommend living trusts. We do them for all of our clients. If you're looking to make one of these trusts, we work with a firm called the Hargrove firm. They have an excellent system. They have a very, very quick and efficient system for setting up living trusts and setting up good estate plans. Their link is going to be in the description below. Our firm typically works on the more higher end estate plans, things that involve what we call tax planning. So there's a lot of tax issues when your net worth gets to a certain level. A lot of tax issues come into play, and that's typically what we specialize in. But if you're looking to form one of these trusts, we highly recommend the Hargrove firm. We work with them a lot on these kind of things, and their link is going to be in the description below. And then real quickly, the last thing I want to cover is that when would you put assets in the trust? That's the question of funding the trust. Typically, you want to put it in before you die. If you put everything in before you die, then you don't have to have the trustee worry about changing everything and shifting everything around after you die. There's two different kinds of assets. There's probate assets, there's non-probate assets. Probate assets are those assets that could be subject to the court's jurisdiction because you weren't clear enough about where they're supposed to go. Non-probate assets are assets that could involve a contract with another party, such as a partnership or a retirement account or a 401k, etc. Those assets are a little more unclear, but you can actually name the trust as a beneficiary of those assets too. It just depends on what you want to do. So that's something we recommend you go through with your lawyer and go through with your wealth planners and figure out where those assets are going to go. To sum up, a revocable living trust is an excellent estate planning option that we're recommending to everybody at this point because it's much better than going through the typical probate process. It's more private, it's more efficient, and it ultimately ends up being cheaper. So if you have questions on that, click the link below and talk to the Hargrove firm, or if you're a higher net worth individual and you want to do some tax planning, you want to deal with the estate plan or the estate tax and the generation skipping transfer tax, these are all kind of complicated tax planning strategies. That's what our firm specializes in. But we'd love to hear from you. The Hargrove firm would love to hear from you, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.